Nowadays it seems like a lot of people are missing a good, decent hobby in their life. Something else than gaming or watching reels. Type of hobby that brings real joy and satisfaction. Especially people with creative hobbies seem to be some kind of rare species. So if you're feeling like your life could use another hobby, then listen up. When I started, I didn't know anything, but I was curious, and that seemed to be enough. Nowadays, whenever we see or hear art, it's usually made by people who are very dedicated to their craft. That's why it has reached your eyes and ears in the first place, because it's special. So it kind of makes it seem like bad art shouldn't exist, therefore you shouldn't try. If I would have let it stop me, I would have missed out on a very rewarding hobby, and I'm very glad I didn't fall into that trap. So that being said, let's talk about why music production is a gold tier hobby. I've never had a creative hobby where the time I spend on it compares so well with how proud I feel about my work. The time to happy ratio is excellent. Generally, the more time we put into something, the more proud we feel about it. But in this case, I can make a song in half an hour and listen to it the next day and just feel super proud of it. And if you compare it, for example, to making videos, I might spend 10 hours making a video. So by that logic, I should be 20 times as proud of the video as I'm of the song. False! And another good thing about this hobby is that it's not a time sink. You can dabble with it every now and then. It's very low risk hobby because you don't have to buy anything, but you also don't have to spend that much time to be fruitful with your hobby. Words cannot describe how good it feels to find a song you made a while ago and then realize that it slaps. Even though when I made the song I thought it was okay, but when I re-listen to it I just gain a whole new appreciation towards it.
We're available at reasonable prices. We're available at reasonable prices.
Because you're like, did I make that? Well, though it must be said that if someone else made it, I probably wouldn't appreciate it as much. But I don't know, maybe the goal isn't to make perfect music, but to make music that is new. That is you. One thing people seem to forget about is that just because you have a creative hobby doesn't mean that you have to let the whole world know about your work. If you go into it thinking that you gotta please someone or everyone, you have to get ready to hate every single second of it. If you feel like I'm glazing my own songs, and I know you do, just know that this is what you get when you don't have any expectations for yourself, nor any pride about my music making skills yet. So whenever I do anything that isn't a complete ear massacre, I feel great. The same couldn't be said about my video making skills. I hype my own video making skills way too much, and what that leads to is a creative slump where it feels like no idea and no execution is actually good enough. Starting is the hardest part, but it feels like that problem isn't the problem when I make music, because again my bar is so low that when I open FL Studio, which is what I make these songs on, I'm not expecting anything of me. I might put 2 chords down and then close the app. Okay, nowadays the expectation is a bit higher, something a bit longer, but you get the point. I don't stress about my result. If I make a bad song, then it's a bad song. I still export it so I can listen to it later. It's not a thing where I need to have a linear progress till it reaches the heaven in 1 year and then I'm just like a gold tier producer. That's not what I'm trying to do here, though that would be nice. That way I also prevent feelings of, oh, that was a waste of time. Because my goal is to get something done regardless what it is. I think healthy amount of self-belittling, thinking that you ain't that important, might be the best way to exist, because otherwise you take yourself too seriously and that just steals your spirit. Let's get into how do you get started. The program I use is FL Studio. It's probably the most mainstream one, so you will find a lot of tutorials for it. It's not free, but it has a free trial version, which is what I use. The only caveat is that you cannot open saved projects. But I also think it's kinda good. It kinda just pushes me to finish the song, even if I'm tired or unmotivated at that point. I gotta do it because that's my last shot. You can of course save the projects. So if you ever do buy FL Studio, you can then open those projects and feel like you're stepping into a ancient tomb and you're just like exploring your past. And there are some other things too which you cannot do in free trial, but they're pretty minor. It's gonna take its own time to get really used to this app and know how to use it, but I still think it's very beginner friendly. I would recommend watching less tutorials and doing more, because I think some people have the habit of watching 2 hours of tutorials before even doing anything. Despite having a lot of features and being very visual, FL Studio is a pretty stable program, although it crashed one time and it left me traumatized. I made 150 songs. Some are like very short and some are longer, but FL Studio has only crashed like 2 times. One thing I like in particular about music production programs and apps is how visual they are. Like, they didn't have to go this hard with the visuals. This is just a program, but they did it anyway. If we compare that to coding, it's a whole new world. It's like you suck all the life out of life when you code, because you're just reading this little text. That's why I don't like it, and I never will. And I know it might sound kinda superficial to say this, but if something is just eye-soothing, I like it more. In fact, writing the script for this video, this thing here, which you cannot see, okay, fine, you can see it then. I have to like put images. I have to write images like this one and this one. See, high ego, expectations, it's running away, molding my brain later. So after I gave this document a visual makeover, I was more drawn to start writing every time. It feels like all the walls were broken down and I could now walk freely. Very poetic. So if someone says that, you know, looks don't matter when it comes to a program, yes it does, because I feel like I'm a very visual person. And I think that's actually normal. That is how majority of people wanna get information. I'm sure a lot of you probably thought at some point of this video that, hey, I don't know any music theory. Neither do I. I mean, of course it helps if you know music theory, but don't think that you're gonna get in legal trouble for making songs that aren't in harmony or whatever. We've all listened to way too much music, so we have some kind of understanding what sounds good and what doesn't. It's intuition. The reason it might feel wrong to make music without knowing music theory is that that's how it goes with most things in life. If you want to build a house, you need to know how to build a house, and if you want to invest, you need to know something about investing. But the difference is that you aren't risking anything here, okay? You're good. You're not putting money on the line unless you're renting like an orchestra, which is pretty cool. But you're not losing anything. I feel like the last segment I want to spend to appreciate the song I made yesterday. So let me open up a little bit. Yesterday and the day before, I was just feeling down. And I was just so negative. I was also negative and confrontational. To my standards at least. You get the point. So yesterday was Monday. And the day before was Sunday. Ooh! And how do I remember that? Yesterday, Monday, It's evening, it's like 8 p.m. and I'm like, let's make a song. I've already made one song that day, it wasn't anything special. But now it's like, let's make a song. You know, ordinary song, I started making it, it sounds like this. Okay, I'm gonna talk over the song like a maniac. After I made this song, my whole mood just shifted. I felt so much better. It actually like changed my brain chemistry. I don't know how to explain it in a way where you kinda get it. I got back on track when I made this song. I felt real, I just felt proud. I went on a walk after it, an evening walk, and I finally could walk with a healthy sense of pride. Like, hey, I'm here. Go on, make music. That's all I'm saying.